Alright everyone, welcome to today's video. Man, I'm on a roll, guys. I'm putting some out here lately. I don't know, guys. I kind of go through these times when I just want to sit and talk on the camera, or I see something that's going on. I want to go ahead and document and send your way on the YouTubes, and so I just do it. And then other times I'm kind of introverted and I just don't even want to mess with it. I guess I'm in one of my extroverted moods or whatever right now. So guys, here's the deal. We're going to talk a little bit about customer service and what's going on nowadays, right? I'm just going to tell you a little bit of a story. I'm going to gripe a little bit about an experience I've had here recently, and it's kind of led me to some decisions. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to keep talking about it because, man, I think a lot of us nowadays, we're bad customers. We are bad customers because we put up with it. So let me get into this deal. So guys, living out here in the province of the Philippines, and this is where I spend the majority of my time nowadays, and I'm retired. I don't have to suit up and go to work. I don't have to do any of that stuff. There's not a lot of things in life that I just absolutely have to have, right? Like, I don't need to go buy an outfit for work, or I don't need to go buy this for my truck, or so on and so forth, right? Most of the things that I purchase around here is just kind of your everyday stuff, and really Christine does more of that. Like, we'll go to the market and we'll buy food and stuff at the market. Every once in a while we might go over to Cantilan or something like that, and like we bought some TVs for the bedrooms and stuff like that, right? So but they're not, some things are necessities, and some things are, they're luxuries, really. Like the TVs in the bedrooms. We didn't have to have that. We just kind of wanted that for our own entertainment, and plus for guests. But it wasn't something that we just had to do. It had to be done, today or whatever. We really don't find ourselves in that predicament too much anymore, where we need something for the house and we're just looking for it, and we can't find it. So we're real fortunate in that aspect. So a lot of the stuff that we buy online and things like that, they're more of wants than they are needs. One of the big things that we buy online is, like, Christine will buy some dresses online. I'll buy some stuff. It's kind of our wardrobe stuff for when we're traveling. Like we might need some warmer clothes, or we just want to wear some nicer stuff, because around here, guys, we're wearing just cheap shirts and t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops most of the time, and it works. It's what you need to wear in the hot tropics like this. You don't need to wear nice stuff that you're just going to sweat in anyway, right? So I had an experience the other day. I ordered this item, and for lack of a better word, it's a men's accessory, right? Mainly for traveling in some cold weather. And I ordered this item online from a company in New York City, and I had them deliver it. Guys, I got rid of my Amazon account a few months ago because I got fed up with some of the Amazon stuff. Number one, I didn't feel like I needed to pay them $100 a month or $100 a year or whatever that fee is, when I get on Amazon Prime and I've still got to rent or buy most of the videos. And then half the stuff I order from them, I cannot get free shipping with, unless I buy a bulk amount of stuff, right? And a lot of times I found myself buying crap from Amazon that I didn't really need just to get up to the $50 mark to get the free shipping to the Philippines. And then if you bought too much stuff online or it was too expensive, then you had to pay import taxes. So I got fed up with it because Amazon was using let me just kind of backtrack just a little bit and tell you the way things work here in the Philippines, right? So if you order something off Amazon, Amazon will send it, a lot of times through the normal couriers that they use in the US, whether it's FedEx or whatever. It could be their own Amazon transport. But they get it here to Manila, and then once it hits Manila and it passes customs, then it is passed off to a local delivery company, a third-party delivery company. That's just how things work here. And there are some good companies and there's some bad companies. And the problem is whenever you did I had few problems with deliveries with Amazon, to be honest with you. I had every once in a while I'd have one, but the problem was when you did have an issue with it and you got online and you had to go because you can't ever talk to a person, right, with Amazon or half these companies nowadays, not more than half, it's most of them nowadays. You couldn't never get anything rectified because they refuse to call the company, the local company here, and inquire and see what's going on. They just refuse to do it. And so what happened a lot of times is they would just reship it. They would reship the item, and it was a couple of times I ended up with 2 items because they did this. And it's not that I told them to, they didn't give me any other option. So it was some of that stupidity that went on with Amazon I got fed up with. So guys, I know there's a truck over here on the road and you're hearing the horn honk. He's trying to get my neighbor Nathaniel up and going so that they can go on their delivery run. So that's what's going on. So anyway, even like the local Southeast Asia companies like Lazada and Shopee and Shein and a lot of these, they do the same thing. Once it hits the Philippines, they pass it on to one of these local couriers. And some of the good ones are like Ninja Van. Even though I've had a few problems with Ninja Van, they're still some of the better ones. J&T, they're generally pretty good too. I never had any major issues with them. And then they got some really, really bad ones like Flash Express. And I quit using Lazada because everything that I would buy through Lazada would come, they would ship it with Flash Express. And so I contacted their customer service and I said, hey, is there any way that I can use one of the other couriers like Ninja Van or J&T or something like that instead of Flash Express? Flash Express have stolen my stuff. Well, actually, they didn't steal it because it gets from me, because a lot of it gets sent COD, right? That's still a thing here. Now, not Amazon, but a lot of the stuff through Shopee and Lazada and Shein, yeah, they still do it COD. So you're relatively safe as far as not losing your money. Now, they did scam me once. Like, I ordered some bourbon off Lazada. And whenever I got it, I opened the package, and sure enough, they had cut the package open and replaced it with some cheap, crappy brandy. And that's, and that was my own fault because I didn't open the package before I just, gave them my money and let them go. So, yeah, I have lost some money with Flash Express. So, but anyway, Lazada would not, they refused to use any other shipper to send me my packages. So I quit doing business with Lazada. Well, now So I switched over to Shopee. I've been buying, and I don't buy much from these companies. A lot of times it's just some small things or whatever, like pipe connectors or something I might need for the house that I cannot find at a local hardware store. That's what I normally buy. One thing I found out about Shopee just the other day is, sure enough, the last delivery I got, they used Flash Express. And so I'm not going to use Shopee either, because I'm not going to get scammed by the sorry lowlifes anymore. I ain't doing that. They're just thieves. So anyway, back to my story about this company out of New York City. Well, I ordered this item from them, and I'm going to leave the name out of it, because this still may be an in-progress thing. I've got to wait till June the 13th to find out for sure. But I'm pretty much certain, because I've already got the notification from FedEx that they're saying it can't be delivered. So anyway, this company, I ordered it, I paid for it through PayPal online, and it was $150, including the shipping, because I had to pay extra for the shipping. It was a $150 item purchase. And I'm going along here for about 10 days, and I still had not received a shipping notification from the company. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, what's going on? How come we haven't shipped? You said this item was in stock and ready to ship on your website. And so I got a response back from him, and they said, oh my gosh, I'm glad you contacted us. We just now realized this was an issue. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So 5 days later, it still hadn't shipped. And so I contacted him again, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? I still haven't received a shipping notification. And so at this point, I'm going and I'm looking at some of their reviews, online reviews, and come to find out this is a problem. And again, my bad for not looking at the reviews ahead of time and finding out if this was a good company to deal with or not. For the most part, they had a decently high rating on Google, but when you looked at the problems, the main problem was shipping problems. And so I was like, well, crap. So they responded back to that second email, and they were like, okay, we need to verify your address. And on their website, they talk about, hey, we have no problem shipping all over the world. And, even when you get on their shipping form, they ask you which country. I tell them the Philippines, and it switches over to a different address format, and everything seems to be looking good, right? So I verified my address. I said, this is my address. I've had hundreds of items over the last 5 years delivered to this address. I've had very few problems. Amazon has shipped here many, many times. I've had stuff even from Etsy come across from all over the world from Etsy, because some stuff came from the Ukraine that I've bought. Some stuff has come from Ireland, you name it. And I've never had any problems with any deliveries from Etsy. I was telling them, this address is a good address. The local shipping companies all know where I'm at. They know the name. They'll find me. Don't worry. And I said, but if you're looking for a good international shipper, DHL has never failed me. I have had stuff delivered from Oklahoma. My sister-in-law puts it in DHL. My address is in their system. I've had priority deliveries done with DHL where it arrived here on my doorstep from Oklahoma in about 4 or 5 days. Never been an issue. It cost me, but it's never been an issue. So I explained all this to them in an email, and they were like, okay, well, thank you. So a couple of days after that, I finally get my shipping notification, and they shipped it with FedEx. And I'm like, well, crap, this is going to be bad, I can already tell. But all right, maybe I'll get lucky. So they ship it with FedEx. It took forever to get from New York City through China and finally into the Philippines. But once it was in the Philippines, the tracking pretty much stops. When it got to Parañaque up there by Manila, that's where everything just ends. And it's like, I have no more shipping notifications. I can't keep track of it. So to kind of speed this story up just a little bit, another month goes by and I still have not received the package. Now they have changed the shipping, and I've had a lot of correspondence back and forth with, I've tried to get on customer service with FedEx, but the FedEx customer service will not talk to you unless you are the shipper. Even though you pay for it, they still will not talk to you. And I was like, well, that's typical. I've had these problems with FedEx in the United States. They are one of the worst shipping companies I've ever dealt with in my life. And I've had several bad experiences with them back in Oklahoma. You know, right there in the smack dab in the middle of the United States of America. I've had stuff late or never got delivered or lost or whatever. It was never ending. I never had any problems with UPS, but always FedEx, there was always something screwed up every single time that Amazon or one of these other companies would use them. And so that's why I've got a long history of bad problems with FedEx. So anyway, I've reached out to them. I finally had to reach out to PayPal and go, hey, you know, I haven't received this item. Maybe you guys can put some pressure on the shipper or with FedEx. I don't know, just whatever you can do to help me out. Now, PayPal was great. They even offered to refund my money already. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to wait on the refund, because if this thing shows up, now you're going to want your money back, and rightfully so. And I don't want to be accused of trying to get something for nothing, right? So anyway, it's just been an absolute nightmare to deal with. Well, me and Christine has had many conversations during this whole, it's been almost 2 months process now. And I told Christine, you know, I was like, you know, I think what we're going to do from here on out is when we need to purchase like items like this, it's not something that we need tomorrow or whatever. It's mainly stuff. Let's just put it on a list of items that we're just going to buy when we go to the big city. You know, when we go to Manila or we go to Bangkok or we go wherever in the world. You know, we can generally find the stores we need to in a lot of these cities that we travel to. And, you know, I come from the generation where back in the 80s, we had malls in America. And it was fun to go hang out in the mall with your friends or your family or whatever, and you kind of made a day of it. It was kind of a treat to go out there and go look in the stores, see what was new and all that kind of stuff. And or if it was Christmas time, there's Christmas in the air. You've got the Christmas trees and all that. Unfortunately, malls have gone by the wayside in the United States, but here in Southeast Asia, and I also noticed in Europe too, malls are still a thing. And so, yeah, I told Christine, man, let's just go enjoy the mall from here on out. Now, we have run into some problems with some of that, because it seems like a lot of brick and mortar stores, even in other parts of the world, don't stock stuff like they used to. You know, one of my biggest gripes back in the United States was I was like, yeah, all right, I'm going to give local small businesses a chance, I'm going to go look for something, whether it was a part or something I needed or whatever. And so I would go, right? I think I may have told this story once about going to the local Napa store, which was about a mile from my house, and trying to find a set of fuel filters for my old diesel truck. Or I had a 6.7 Cummins in my truck, and so I needed the 2 fuel filters. Well, I went to the Napa. They pulled out the water separator filter, and then he was looking in the book to see if he could find the other fuel filter. And he was sitting there and he's like, yeah, we just don't have that part. We don't have that fuel filter. And I'm like, okay. I said, I guess I'll go ahead and buy the water separator and see if I can't find the other filter at, AutoZone or something like that. And I said, how much is that water separator anyway? And he told me some outrageous, it was over $100 just for this one filter. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Over $100 for this one filter that I've got to replace a few times a year? That's absolutely ridiculous. And so I'm standing there in the store, and I get on Amazon, and I look, and I'm like, well, this is the right size, the right model, everything else for my diesel engine. And they have a 2-pack. They've got both the filters that you can buy online from Amazon, and for both of the filters, I think it was around $65-70. And I held my phone up and I showed it to the guy at Napa, and I said, is this what you're wanting to charge? I mean, are these the filters that you can't find one of them and you want to charge me $100 and something for the other one? And he just kind of ducked his head and he goes, yeah. And I'm like, man, I said, I thought you guys did some honest business here at Napa, because I had another deal with a lawnmower, like a lawnmower oil filter for my old Skag mower that I had. It had a Kawasaki engine on it. And I used to go to the Skag dealership, or I'd go to John Deere dealership or whatever, and they would rip me off on that oil filter too. They'd charge me like $30-40 for this oil filter. And then one day I walk into Napa and I was like, hey, y'all wouldn't happen to have this oil filter, would you? And they're like, yeah. And he went and pulled it up, and I said, how much is that? And he goes, $6. I'm like, my God. So that's the crazy world that you run into with some of this stuff, right? And so to find out that they were screwing me on these filters for my truck, man, I was pissed. I mean, wasn't anybody, right? So, yeah, that's been some of the deals. Or I've gone to these brick and mortar stores, and they're like, well, we don't have that particular model in stock, but we can order it for you. And I said, well, God's sake, I could have ordered the thing off Amazon yesterday and already had it delivered to me today. But I was going to give you guys a chance to earn my business, but you don't stock anything anymore. And that was something that I always found, was a lot of the brick and mortar stores, they just don't stock things anymore. Not like they used to. And so it made it real difficult sometimes. And that's why I started using, Amazon and places like that to find things that I needed. But here I am, guys, in the Philippines, and there's not a lot of stuff like that I absolutely need, right? I just don't need things like that anymore. So I told Christine, I was like, because we're in that unique situation where we don't have to have it tomorrow, and these are more kind of luxury things for us. This is, items that we wear when we're on vacation or whatever, just because we want to look a little bit nicer than wearing flip-flops and shorts on vacation. So I was like, let's go back and do the whole mall experience, because, like I was saying, here in Southeast Asia, malls are still a thing. And I mean, especially during Christmas time, I mean, starting in September, the Burr months here in the Philippines, man, the malls are decking out. They've got the Christmas trees up and all that good stuff. And so the atmosphere is cool. It's nice. It reminds me, and it gives me a taste of being back in Oklahoma and going to the mall in the 80s. And I really enjoy that. And so that's kind of what we're going to start doing. And, being luxury things, and a lot of it's just kind of clothes stuff. I don't really need to be so picky, right? I can kind of shop the stores, and if I find a pair of pants or whatever I need, I don't have to be so dadgum picky about that. And, that's one thing that I'm enjoying about life is I don't got to deal with a lot of that stuff. And so, like, these online stores, they're quickly dropping off the freaking map for me, because they just don't service anymore. Customer service is a thing of the past. When you're here in the Philippines and you're in Southeast Asia, a lot of Americans will gripe because they feel like you don't get the service that you deserve and things like that. And there is some truth to that. The cultures are different. If you go sit down at a restaurant, unless it's something like Texas Roadhouse where they've been American trained, you don't get the same kind of service. So that's something you just got to keep in mind. It's really a cultural thing. It's not necessarily they're just wanting to give you bad service. A matter of fact, there's probably only a couple of countries that I've traveled to here recently where I have gotten good service in a restaurant, and that's been in Germany and Switzerland. Went to a couple of, in Germany it was outstanding everywhere I went. In Zurich, Switzerland, man, there was a couple of places we went and it was really good service, and it was like what you would expect in the United States or something, right? So it's not completely out of the question. But the thing is, back in America and stuff, it seems like a lot of these companies don't give a rat's ass about customer service anymore. I mean, you go to Walmart, I mean, they funnel you through the self-checkout, and then they're watching you like a hawk to make sure that, oh, you're not skip scanning or something like that, right? Make you feel like a deadgum criminal. And, well, okay, if you don't like it, then put your clerks back in and let them scan all the stuff and put it in a sack, But we are dumb. We are absolutely dumb when it comes down to being customers. We're lazy about, I'm one of them too, guys. I'm talking to myself here, but we're lazy about putting out the reviews that some of these people deserve, right? We're very lazy about that. But then, even if you do see some of these places, or even if you are treated like crap like they do at Walmart, where does everybody go? They go right back to Walmart. They'll even go back with their phone and bitch and put it on the TikToks about, oh, they treated me horribly, but then the next week, they're right back in the same Walmart spending their hard-earned money in that store again. And that's what I'm saying. We're bad customers when it comes down to this. Companies that refuse to give decent customer service ought to be going out of business. They should not be in business very long. But it seems like some of the companies like Amazon and Walmarts of the world that treat their customers the worst are doing the best. So why is that? It's because we're horrible customers. We put up with it. And so as long as we keep going into these stores, or as long as these companies, no matter what it is, if it's a brick and mortar store or an online store, are refusing to give you good service, why are you giving them your money? It don't make any sense. Those are the companies that should be going out of business. But we're stupid. You know, I got a friend of mine, Glenn. He travels a lot more than I do, and you know, he really has. He's got some excellent points. You go to these kind of Airbnb or these boutique type hotels or whatever. A lot of times you don't even get to talk to a human. They will send the little code to unlock your room to your phone, and you never even talk to a human being. And me and Glenn's had these conversations where he's talked about, you know, human beings really we are designed for that human interaction. And he's absolutely right when it comes down to that. We do need that human interaction. To sit back in your basement and run everything off the dadgum computer and then have somebody drop it off at your door, shoot, pretty soon it's going to be the way of drones, right? You're not even going to have an actual person delivering the stuff to you. As soon as these companies figure out how they can replace humans with robots, we're not going to have any human interaction when it comes down to a lot of this stuff, if we allow it. If we keep sending these companies our business. You know, so something to think about. Is it possible to do 100% of your business without using computers or without doing this or doing that? No, it's not. It's kind of the world we live in. But I think we should give the companies and the businesses that do business the old-fashioned way, where it's human-to-human interaction, and you see somebody with a smile on their face, and you can ask questions when you're buying or you're checking into a hotel and somebody's there to help you. I think we should give those companies our business before we give the little boutique that wants to have you punch a code to get into your room. You know, I can remember we were in Vienna. It took me and Christine over an hour and a half to figure out where our room was and how to get in there, because the information that they'd given us on my phone and on the emails and stuff, it was right, but it wasn't clear. And if there would just have been a human being that we could have stopped in and said, hey, can you show us where to go? We're in room whatever. It would have made all the difference in the world, because it was a pretty decent place to stay. It really was, especially for the money in Vienna. So, but we didn't have that. Matter of fact, there was other customers of this place trying to help us out. They had a different type of room. They had like a big family room, so they weren't in the same location as us. So they were trying to help us. We need that human interaction. We need help from people, especially whenever you're traveling overseas. Heck, the language barrier is bad enough, you know, especially for us stupid Americans, where we only speak one language anyway, right? So that's what me and Christine are going to start doing. We're going to try. I know nothing is 100% possible, but we are going to start doing business at brick and mortar places, going to the mall. And you know, we may only hit these cities maybe a few times a year, and we'll just have our list of things we're going to look for, things on the list. And we'll pay the extra luggage fee or whatever it is, if it's something that we have to, just to get it back home, right? To me, that's worth it. And plus you get the experience of just going out and shopping and actually touching and feeling the fabrics or whatever of the clothes that you want to buy in these places. Or it could be an item. you know. Man, I run into a deal. A lot of you guys probably noticed that in some of my past videos that I splurged myself. It was kind of a retirement, whatever kind of gift, I guess, for myself. And I bought myself an Oris watch. Well, Oris watches definitely are not a Rolex. They're not the price of a Rolex, but they've got a pretty good reputation among watch collectors as being a good quality item. So I bought the Oris dive watch, you know. It's the green one that I would wear quite often on my videos and stuff. I love that watch. Well, as luck would have it, I must have got a lemon or something. The thing stopped working. I can't get it to go. So here in the Philippines, and I bought it here in the Philippines, but here in the Philippines, they don't have an authorized repair place. Now, in Manila, they have a couple places that you can take it to, and then they will ship it back to Switzerland to get fixed, right? But they don't have a place where you can go drop it off. They can take a look at it, whether it's a week or whatever, and fix it, and then you can get it back. But in Bangkok, Thailand, they do. There's a place over there, and it's kind of in a warehouse or an industrial area of Bangkok. We like to never found the place, but we found it, and we went over there. And so they are an authorized repair place, so you don't got to worry about them taking the movement out and replacing it with some off-brand cheap one or something like that. You know, they've got the Oris authorization to work on these things. So when we were in Thailand last, we were going to be there for a little bit, and I took it by there just to see if they could fix it and get it back before we left. So we go in there, and I hand it to them, and I said, yeah, the thing just stopped. And they're like, okay. So they look up the serial number, and they're like, yeah, the watch is still under warranty. It's got a 10-year warranty. It's only a couple of years old. I think I bought it in 2023, so I guess it is coming up on 3 years old now. But it still has 7 years left of warranty on it. And I said, okay, well, can you guys fix it? And they're like, well, we can, but Oris won't let us. I'm like, what do you mean? You're an authorized repair place, right? And they're like, well, they don't want us to fix them. We have the only way we can fix it is to replace the movement. And I'm like, well, do you have any movements for this watch? And they're like, no, you don't understand. They won't even let us buy movements. We have to send the whole watch back to Switzerland, and it can only be fixed in Switzerland. So basically all they're going to do is I've got to have the watch sent back to Switzerland, and because it's a Swiss-made watch, if you don't know about Oris, and then they're going to replace the movement and send the thing back. And I was like, well, okay, if they won't let you fix it, then I guess that's what we're going to have to. I'll just do it from Manila, because I'm in and out of Manila quite more often than I am Thailand, so it only makes sense. And the place I bought the watch from can actually do that. They can send it back to Switzerland for repairs. So that's one of the maddening things. You know, you spend pretty good money for a watch that's supposed to last, these are supposed to be lifetime watches, and I get it. There's maintenance that's got to be done on them, and things happen or what have you. And not anything is bulletproof, but whenever you take it somewhere and that they authorized to repair it and they won't let them fix it, that's some maddening stuff. So just something to think about. And it's probably an industry norm now. They don't let anybody just fix things. And the problem is like you come here to Southeast Asia, a lot of these people know how to fix them. They can open it up and tell you exactly what's wrong with it. You know, it could be a hairspring, it could be whatever. And they can pop a new one in and probably have the thing fixed and up and running in 5 minutes. But they won't allow it. So I'd have been better off if the watch was not under warranty, because this company, these people would not even touch it because it was still under warranty. And I even asked them, I said, well, what if we just don't even worry about the warranty? How much would it cost me for you to fix it? And they're like, we're not going to do it. They refuse to work on it. So those are some of the maddening things that companies are doing to us as customers. And so for me, you know, can I recommend an Oris watch? Man, you know, you spend that kind of money on one, you expect it to keep running for more than 5 years or 3 years. And then if something does happen to you, you expect to be able to get it fixed without having to send it all the way clear across the world to Switzerland to get the thing fixed. You know, it's customer service. So no, I can't recommend stuff like that. Anyway, it seems to be the norm nowadays where customers, we just got to bend over and take it. We get screwed every single way there is. And so it almost makes me now anymore, I don't even, you know, like I see watches all the time. I go to these watch shops in the airports, and man, I've had my eye on this certain model of Breitling for quite a long time. And it's a very expensive watch. And it's like one of those deals, you know, where I've come close to pulling the trigger on buying one. But now after this experience I've had with the Oris, is Breitling going to be the same way? You know, and I've just completely been turned completely off of nice watches now. Matter of fact, if I'm going to go buy me another watch, I'm probably going to go look at a Seiko or something like that and just look at a functional watch that, okay, if the thing breaks, I'm not out several $1,000s. I'm just out maybe a few hundred. So that's what I'm looking at. Anyway, guys, I've been bitching and rambling on here for quite some time, but that's my 2 cents on it. I think we need to start being better customers. We need to start demanding more and quit spending our money at these places that continually screw customers over and don't understand the meaning of customer satisfaction. That's just my 2 cents, guys. All right, I appreciate y'all watching another video, and we'll catch you on the next one.